On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we are talking about Discovery 407, But to Connect. Right after these words from our mystery sponsor.
Butts to connect. Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on the continuing Star Trek conversation two lifelong friends have been having since they were 6. My name's Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
How you doing, bud?
I'm all right, man. I just got back from North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. How was the trip?
All things considered, pretty good. I don't necessarily care for not being at home.
I get that. I do. I love going on trips. I love seeing new places. But then, like, getting home is always just like, oh, it's just like falling into a warm bath, man.
Yeah, it's like the old Seinfeld bit where you're like, oh, we gotta go, let's get there. And then you get there and you're like, well, gotta be getting back.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
So I just sort of, I get there and I'm like, this isn't my bed.
I think this year's been particularly challenging for me because Alyssa's been living in Dallas and I've been living 10 days a month in Dallas. And then with my mom being sick, I've been living often 1 week, 2 weeks a month down there. And so like the bouncing around, I just haven't had that feeling of like I'm in the warm bath for more than like a few days at a time. And I think that's causing some interesting things in my psychological development.
Yeah,
I'm kind of getting used to it, but I don't know that it's a good thing. Like not feeling like there's one stable home, you know?
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
Speaking of one stable home, this is an interesting episode because like two characters that have come to think of each other as home, maybe being driven apart by a gulf of decision making that is too great for a book to cross.
Okay.
Right?
I guess. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention. I'm just kidding.
But podcast, Dave. But podcast.
I know, man. It's just, man, I'm tired. No, I really enjoyed this episode.
Good.
This is my favorite kind of Star Trek episode where you have like 2 points of view, 2 courses of action that, are both justifiable, but like which one is the correct one?
Absolutely.
And I dug that. I like these types of let's talk it out episodes. And I like that we got the same thing with Zora. It was very much like, the old trope of how they get the B plot to like mirror the A plot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like she created a failsafe for herself in case they can't, she does something stupid.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy. That made me think Zora is Batman.
That's true. Yeah, no, it's a really good episode. And it, we've talked about it over and over. This is what we love about Star Trek. It really takes the time to just like dissect a decision and give the points of view that are like, there's not like a right and a wrong here in any of these situations. Well, like, so we think in Zora, things are a little more direct. But like you definitely can understand. Actually, the ending of the Zora plotline kind of comes out of nowhere because like it feels like Stamets is making reasonable arguments, you know, and like it's just part of the rules. We can't have a sentient AI. Like it's dangerous. We were there when those rules were created for a reason, and like then at the end of that whole thing, it comes to like, oh, I'm just being racist, basically. Like, and that. It's just such a great way of like turning that on its head. And I love it. I love like, we're here to seek out new life and new civilizations. And like, this is new life. Like we've created new life or like the new life has like been birthed on this ship and we're not going to destroy it. Like, that's not what we do.
Nope. I loved it.
Yeah. I love when Dr. Kovich is like, I'd made my decision long before. Like, it's just if you had said you didn't want to make the same decision, you would have just been reassigned. Like, it's like, it's so good. I'm actually loving that both of the Kovich and the president are both like true believers in the Federation.
So far as we can see, yeah.
Yeah.
I was pretty certain. I'm like, here we go. It's a couple of You know,
yeah, you get the politician and the guy who's dressed in all black, so we assume he's like some sort of Section 31 covert ops, not to be trusted guy. And it turns out they're like teaching Discovery. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're like fighting for the ideals of the Federation from the top. And we don't see that almost ever.
I'm still hoping Kovic is still. I like the idea of him like being, you know, very pro Federation, but I also like the idea of him being like secret ops.
Yeah, sure.
He knows shit he should not know. We know that because he knows about the Kelvin timeline.
So he got very high clearance, clearly, but like we kind of didn't trust him because of his knowledge. But like maybe he has that high clearance because they've actually. I don't know. It's interesting because we kind of got this sense from the last season when they're just getting to know this version of the Federation that they've kind of gone astray, and the hopefulness of Discovery was bringing them back to their ideals. But like, apparently there are people that were still in this thing holding on to those ideals, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I love Kovic. I love the way he just very bluntly tells people shit. You're just like, oh, damn. Okay, dude. Well, he's very blunt. You know, I don't have time for this. I have this appointment. You know, it's just he's just a lot of fun, and Cronenberg's actually doing a really good job.
Yeah. When they first cast him, you know, it's kind of stunt casting. It's like a celebrity wants to be a part, you let him do it, whatever. Yeah. And honestly, the first episode, like he's nice, but like kind of didn't feel like a real person,
which I liked. I felt like it worked for his character, though.
I agree, but now that we're getting to know him, it's just becoming clear that first interaction was just like him being standoffish, and now he's like really becoming a real person. I dig it a lot.
Yeah, it was funny. I was thinking like, man, this is basically like this. The A plot is basically just, do we go Picard way or Kirk way? And then you know, I was watching Steve Shives and he described it as Kirk versus Cisco, and I went, you know, that is more appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Picard versus Cisco. Like, I don't know, Cisco in a dire situation would make this decision. That the book wants to make. And I think that Kirk and Picard are both the idealists that would not do that, you know, unless they were pushed into it, you know?
Yeah.
They would always try diplomacy first, or at least in most cases. Some of those early stuff, sometimes it's written inconsistently, but the platonic ideal of Kirk is a guy who always tries diplomacy first.
Yeah. Can I just go ahead and throw out this notion, my theory that Tarka is the one that created the DMA?
Oh, interesting. That is interesting. I don't see it, but please expound.
I don't buy his story to book. I don't think it's necessarily a lie, but I think, you know, because the best lies are, you know, couched in truth.
Sure.
I think he is from a parallel reality. I just think that he and his buddy made a device to let them traverse the universes and accidentally created something that would destroy it.
Interesting. Yeah, he does have a lot of inside knowledge, and you're saying like that inside knowledge is because he actually knows. He's not determining it scientifically. He's figuring it out because he knows what the DMA is like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's possible. I like it. I like the call. I liked his story, his backstory he gave, but man, ever since he sat down with Book, I said it on that episode 2 or 3 episodes ago, when he sat down with Book to have a drink, I was like, he is talking to one of the only 2 people who can fly a spore drive ship. Like, he's intentionally befriending Book. And like, I just knew from that moment that he was planning to manipulate Book to help him in whatever way. And like, he has done so. And I'm here for it.
I remember I told you, I was like, I recall, you know, I was like, they brought up that secondary spore drive. They're going to be using it.
Yep. And it was pretty cool how it like adapted itself into his ship.
Yeah, that was awesome.
The last shot when it actually was used and his whole ship just came apart and went, that was some badass shit. I loved it. And it did a great job too, because so often in Star Trek, you'll have like the shot from far away and you see the ship just do its thing. But from inside the hangar bay and from Burnham's perspective, watching her like love betray her and then have that like badass. It was real cool, man. This episode is so cool.
Yeah, it was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. It is not the kind of like cliffhanger that like I would think would be happening for a 6-week hiatus.
Oh yeah, I totally think it is. Like these two characters that have been like so close are now at odds. I mean, man, when she, it hurts me to think about her standing up and trying to speak against him after he just said, like, I'm here to speak for the dead, those who can't speak. Like, I'm here to speak for my people. We have to do it this way. And then everyone's convinced, and then she steps forward. Like, through this episode, she makes multiple decisions to be on the side of the Federation versus on the side of Book, which is what her duty is. But man, when Book wants something so different from the Federation ideals, that's tough, man.
Yeah, and I don't blame her. I was actually worried for a second that she wasn't going to speak up.
Same, totally.
I was like, what is happening, Michael? What are you doing? But, it's clear that she believes in the Federation ideals. My wife and I watched this episode, and she said, which one do you hope they choose? And I was like, I kind of don't care. Like, I want to see both.
Yeah, well, the cool thing is that sounds like what we're getting now. Like, somebody's going to have to go out and get and try to make contact while someone else is trying to stop Book from doing this thing, and it's going to have to be Discovery because Discovery's the only ones that can probably catch Book. Yeah,
maybe Discovery is still at Archer Station getting repaired. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge deal, spore drive, though. Well, I think that's the thing, is they showed us futuristic repairs this episode, so that next episode they can be like, all done, time for a spore drive versus spore drive action. Like, how cool could it be if, like, they're tracking, they're going to have to, like, figure out all new technologies, like, how do they track a spore drive? Like, what if a spore drive jumps into an atmosphere and they have to chase them? Like, like they jumped into the middle of Klingon in the first season, Like, they could do all kinds of craziness to try to have, like, a chase scene with spore drives. I'm pumped about it.
I suspect were Discovery in a good place, they would be able to catch up with that ship pretty quickly. So I suspect to allow Tarka and Book the time to get to, set up what they're doing, and to also give a little bit of, here's the situation. We're running against the clock.
Sure.
I think the next episode will be like, we've got to complete the repairs. Meanwhile, cutting to Book and Tarka. We've got to get this done.
Well, the thing is, like, I just don't know that we don't know that Tarka's already set up. Like, Tarka may already have his isolinear weapon ready, and he's just, like, waiting for transport. And then you get transport from a spore drive ship. It's an immediate thing. Like, you're just there. So it just depends on how close Tarka really is.
Nothing's ever as simple as that, and we'll also have bits where I'm 110% sure we'll get to a point where they're there. Tarka does a couple of questionable things. Book is like, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Right.
What were you saying you were doing again? And then, he mentions some kind of detail that he got wrong from the first time he told it, and Book's like, this is some bullshit. Something's going to happen like that, I think. I don't think Tarka's on the level.
I think that's an interesting perspective. I respect it. I just don't. I think that Tarka is I want Tarka to be on the level because I really like this storyline of just the madman who is, the mad scientist who isn't even necessarily evil. He's just believes the right thing to do is to save people, but really he's doing it for selfish reasons and but he also believes in his own like legend, and he thinks that he's going to be able to stop the DMA and that everyone will forgive him once he stops it. I think there's just a lot. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on character wise if this story is real. So I kind of want it to be real, but I hear you.
It's not that I don't think the story is real. I'm just saying he's not completely on the level. There's something he's hiding.
Right.
There's some other agenda. There's something else there that he hasn't told Book.
Oh yeah, no. That's for sure. That's for sure. Or at least he's willing to go much further than Book is willing to go. Like, I think he's willing to like damage this universe in lieu of escaping to the one he's trying to get to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't really care about damaging this universe. And then no matter what this isolinear weapon's going to do, he's like, yeah, I don't really care. And he's selling it to Book as like, no, we just can't have another planet die like your planet. But, for him, it's just like, I have my place to go. I'm just going. It doesn't matter with what happened, what damage I leave on this universe.
Yeah. I do somewhat feel like Tarka believes that, whether it's because he feels guilty for creating the thing in the first place, maybe he didn't even know he created it in the first place.
I don't get any sense of caring for anyone else. So far, his character has been like all about proving his own science and proving his own like intelligence.
Well, that could be a front for guilt.
Sure.
If he suspects he may have created this thing accidentally.
Right.
He's not going to be like, hey, I created the thing that you're all upset and afraid of that hasn't done anything last couple episodes.
I think it's absolutely possible that his partner, like, they built the DMA as a way of escaping the universe, and then his partner left, and that's why he's like, I don't know if he made it, or like, he may be in the other universe waiting on me, but then the DMA is like some sort of repercussions of the travel device that they were trying to traverse the universes in. Because the fact that they just need a power source seems suspect, because it seems like there'd be other power sources he could seek.
Yeah.
I mean, power of the sun, palm of your hand, man. All right. We got Saru gave the Admiral some flowers.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was very cute.
I was like, do it, man. Get it.
Get it, Saru.
Crack that shit open, man. Good.
Oh, gosh.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I mean her Navarian heart, you pig.
I can't say what I want to say now. It's too far. It's just too far.
No, man, do it. I want you to do it. Go too far. I love it when you go too far.
I can't do it.
Let me be the catalyst for your freedom.
It's all right, Tarka. Calm down. You are my Tarka. But no, yeah, there's also Ghost Boy leaves the ship.
Yay!
I know you're excited. Man, maybe that's all it is. Maybe that he wasn't really working out and they wanted to get rid of him, but I'm sure we'll see more from him. They're going to try the long distance thing. But maybe it'll be long distance like Keiko was long distance and we just don't see him for 2 seasons.
She'll show up and like she'll have dinner with O'Brien,
Right.
And she's like, "You're acting weird. What's going on?" "Oh, I was just gonna do a thing with Julian, but it's fine.
I was trying to spend time with my true love." You're really messing things up right now.
No, I figure Gray will get somewhere and he'll get to Trill, and then it'll be like, "Oh, the thing that I'm trying to learn makes me remember a thing, and I figured out a thing for DMA. Gotta go back."
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I think he's probably gone for a while, but we'll see.
You think?
I do, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, right.
I really thought after last week he was going to be the new Zorro Whisperer, but now he's going back to be a Guardian. And if other people feel the way you feel about a Gray, it's very possible that other people are just like, yeah, this isn't working. He's not. The actor isn't attenuating, whatever, his emotions or whatever.
Yeah.
Just like that one sage ghost voice that he uses. I do think he's been better in the last few episodes.
Sage ghost voice.
You know what I'm talking about. It's like always softly lit. There's like an angelic light beam surrounding him no matter where he goes, and he's always speaking in like hushed tones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sage Ghost Boy.
Yeah, man. That's like when he starts to talk to Adira, it's like I basically hear like the piano come in from like when Danny's talking to DJ on Full House at the end of the episode, like the come to Danny moment.
We've had similar, I don't think we ever felt negatively about him, but we've had similar feelings about Culver at times, where Culver shows up to be like, I'm going to wrap everything up in a nice bow now. But I always liked Culver.
I like Culver. I don't care if they do it with Culver so much.
Same. He pulls it off. I don't know how he does it, but he pulls it off.
Culver's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I think that's about everything that happens this episode. The trailer for next week excites me. It has this whole thing about like Burnham has to go out past Federation space, and like she'll have no backup or laws or Federation laws to protect her. She's going to be basically doing her courier thing, and it shows a shot of her like gambling with a group of aliens, and that sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds like a fun episode.
Well, it was a trailer for the last half of the season, for the second half of the season, but
oh, gotcha. Let's see.
Like I said, 6-week break here. We'll get it back on February 10th.
Do we have no Trek at all next week? Or are they bringing back Prodigy?
They're bringing back Prodigy.
Oh, great. Well, that's fun.
For another 5 episodes, and then Prodigy will go on hiatus, and then they'll wrap up or they'll do Picard, or I can't remember exactly how they're doing it, but yeah, Prodigy comes back for another, let's see. Prodigy is coming back from January 6th through February 3rd. It says there's a hiatus for Picard season 2, and then Prodigy for episodes 11 through 20 comes back. Let's see, 12/31.
Okay.
Looks like it'll be back for the end of the year.
Okay. I'm excited. I think it's found its footing in a really cool way this season. And it feels
Discovery or Prodigy?
Discovery. Prodigy as well, of course.
Prodigy stepped out of the gate knowing where it was.
Agreed.
Like,
Totally agreed.
I have never, including the original series, ever seen a Star Trek series that so fully knew what it was.
Yeah, agreed.
And just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, man, I completely agree with that. I just think that that's what I'm saying. Like, I think Discovery kind of found its footing this season, whereas you're right, Prodigy, I think, has known from the very beginning what it is. Yeah. Now, whether Prodigy can like sustain the way, like, it feels like it'd be a really good, like, Pixar movie or whatever. And I'm wondering if it can sustain the like a yearly season or whatever.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
I do wish Discovery would find its footing a little better, because I still feel like there are some pacing issues with the serialization of the show.
There definitely can be.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of jump over some things that I would have liked to have seen in favor of, unnecessary at times emotional scenes that are just kind of seem like they're redundant. Like, yeah, we kind of got this notion last episode. We know you guys disagree, or
right. No, I really, man, I think that the stuff about them disagreeing this episode, I thought was wonderful. I thought,
yeah,
the whole,
I agree with that.
The stuff on the ship of them chatting, having argument, and him saying like, some things, there are consequences to some stances that you can't come back from, and her doing it anyway. Dang, man.
This episode notwithstanding, like, I'm not bitching about this episode. I'm just saying, over the course of I know that there have been conversations where I'm like, yeah, y'all had this conversation. Right. Sure. I remember.
Sure.
If you're doing a serialized show, and I constantly bitch about this with the CW stuff, the DC CW stuff is very exposition heavy.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, their ratings are shit, but their numbers in streaming are really, really high. And that's why they keep getting renewed.
Right. And that's because people like watching the overarching plots.
Right.
Their episodic stuff has not pulled its weight.
The same holds true of something like The Flash or Supergirl or whatever, as it does with Discovery. If you're doing serialized television, if that's like the niche that you are in for real, and that's what people are tuning in for, you do not have to keep expositing. You don't have to keep going over the same material to catch people up every episode, because these things are created for streaming, for binging.
Sure.
Discovery is very much a bingeable show. It is one huge story throughout the season.
Right, but it does come out weekly. The thing is, like, I guess I fundamentally disagree with like what's the right move. Like, I think it's important, especially for Star Trek, and especially with Discovery. The weakness for Discovery for me is it's been too serialized. Sure, they have these conversations, and I agree with you. Sometimes there's like an emotional conversation that's like a repeat sort of thing, and to kind of be like, "Hey, remember we had that conversation 4 episodes ago?" But in their defense, they are a weekly show. They do release weekly.
That is what the previously on is for, which they do have, by the way.
They do have. Well, my point is, I actually think Star Trek, especially Discovery, has been too serialized as of late to the point that I look at a season and I'm like, I see the overall shape of the season, but when you ask me like what happened, are there episodes that I can point to that are like, that's a great episode? That's really hard to find in previous Discovery seasons for me. Even Picard is a little that way. Although Picard, I don't know, it was just so epic to have them all back. I do recall a little more episodic nature to that. But this season for Discovery, like I can point to multiple episodes that feel like self-contained things. Even though they're all seeking the DMA, they still feel like really good, well done stories. They have each episode seems to have a beginning, middle, and end, which is what I want from Star Trek. Like I want both. You got to have the overarching story, but you got to have each episode be fulfilling. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Feel like a meal and not like just something that's carrying me to the next episode. And I think they're doing that better this season.
Yeah, as a classic, Star Trek fan, I kind of want both. Like, I love new television. I love a series to be like a season. Sorry, I'm switching over to British thought. I love a season to be an overarching story. I like short seasons. I like the serialization. On the other hand, yeah, I kind of miss the wrap it up in one episode thing.
Yeah.
I like there being just like really standout episodes that you could just be like, damn, dude, let's do this. Yeah. If you're just feeling Star Trek one night and you're like, let me find an episode to watch, I'd like to be able to go into Discovery and just say, let me find a thing. And I think right now for Discovery, the only one I would go to is probably either the Guardian of Forever episodes or the first thing I thought of was
Calypso.
Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. That like time loop episode with Harry Mudd.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
So that's like 2 out of like 4 seasons or almost 4 seasons.
Yeah, and see, I feel like this season. Now you can say they're not as classic, and I think I'd probably agree with those 2 are really good, but I do think like the Tilly episode where they're on the planet, that's a really pretty self-contained story. And then, the loss of Quai-Jean, like even though that starts the season, like it all feels very, connected, but still has a beginning, middle, and end in each episode. They still go through something. It could be better, but I think they're striking a better balance than in previous. But yeah, cool, man. Well, any other things about this here episode?
No, I just enjoyed it, and Discovery comes back February 10th, y'all.
Man, when does Picard start?
You always ask me all these questions. I don't know.
I do.
I can't remember. It's sometime in February, I think.
Yeah, February 2022. Does that mean Discovery and Picard will be running concurrently?
No, I don't think so. I think they're going to run 5 or 6 weeks of
Prodigy,
and then we'll have the last of Discovery season 4 wrapped up. See, what does Discovery have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we know that they're not. We have 6 weeks of Discovery left. We know that they're not above airing 2 episodes. Yeah, they might air the last 2 together.
Yeah, that's to do with Prodigy. They kind of tagged it in and like had 1 week where they overlapped. And I might give that maybe what they're doing here, because that would put it still like 5 weeks of Prodigy and 6 weeks of let's call it 5 weeks of Discovery, since there might be an overlap week. That still puts us like 10 weeks, which is like 2.5 months, which is putting us into March. So they may have some more overlap than we're thinking, or they may do a double episode. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Me neither.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. I wish they would put out a schedule.
I mean, they kind of do, but then it's just like not necessarily clear.
Yeah, well, they'll say like in February. They don't necessarily say like exactly what they're doing. It would make it easier to make a podcast if I knew what was coming.
Yeah, I kind of think they have. I think they have so much content right now, they just don't know what the hell to do exactly, and they're just trying to like figure it out as they go.
Right, catch up from all this like backlog of content from COVID years.
Yeah, that's the big thing. CW's doing the same thing, where it's like, oh, well, we're pushing Flash here, and then we're going to change this to here, and, Legends will come back on this day instead.
I can't keep up with that on a regular year, much less if they're doing this kind of thing where they're stacking media.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for joining us for the Star Trek universe. We'll be back soon. You got anything else you want to plug, Dave? You want to tell anybody about anything?
I don't know. If you are interested in comic booky type art, I'm drawing a lot of stuff over at Instagram.com/drawingwithdave. You can find it at drawingwithdave.
Yeah.
And I am super excited because, one, I did 81 pieces this year, which is a huge output for me.
That's huge. Yeah. I've noticed. I've really noticed. I've been watching them pop up on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, and I am working on this idea I came up with, and I'm writing and drawing it, and hopefully it'll be up on like Webtoons by the end of 2022. But I'm going to start probably posting some original characters and stuff from that.
Dude, that's great.
And I might start a Patreon soon for that.
Dude, that is super rad. I can't wait to see it, for real. That's awesome. I have not had an output this year. I've written songs for my Black Widow album that I was trying to write, and I've written it, but I just haven't been. I don't know. It's the bouncing back and forth. It's like driving to Dallas every month means I'm spending 2 days on the road every month, and it just eats into my available time to do creative projects. So. I'm hoping that in January, I have less gigs in January. I'm hoping I can nail down some time to do a few, get a few of these songs done and out. And I planned on putting out my Black Widow album in May of last year when Black Widow came out, and I just couldn't get it done. I just haven't had time, and so trying to make it happen. And I appreciate everybody's support with the podcast and with everything we do, because that's allowed me some available time. I'm actually looking at if the podcast stuff can keep growing, I can kind of back down some of the club gigs, which will give me a little more creative time. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. We're working on it all. Trying to. It's so funny, doing something like the podcast thing. It's doesn't make enough for you to not work other things, but it doesn't make enough. It makes enough to work on it. You know what I mean? It's a tricky balance.
I get it.
And you're do I pour 20 extra hours into my podcasting every week and try to grow it, or do I remain focused on the creative stuff I'm trying to do otherwise? It's a weird balance to try to strike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talking about driving so much. I'm sure it hinders you musically, not being able to mess with an instrument because you're driving.
Right.
But for me, I don't know if this part of you makes it different, or for the writing part of it. Because the other day I was driving and I was just quiet and in the car, and I didn't have any distractions really. And this was while I was in North Carolina. And it's 35 miles, or no, not 35 miles. It's 16 miles, but it's down all these windy roads and stuff.
Right.
And so it's 35 minutes from the place where we were staying to the nearest point in town.
Right.
So I'm just driving, and I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I got this idea in my head. And I just started playing it out, and I had fixed 3 plot problems that I had with an old novel that I wrote years ago. And nice. I got excited about that and started I had to pull off and write it down.
Yeah, dude, I definitely do that. That's actually how I've written this year. So I mentioned at the top, I mentioned when we started talking about this, I've written a bunch of songs this year, but I haven't been able to record them. So while driving is how I wrote a lot of them. So I'll write, and I'll have my little voice memo app, and I'll record myself singing different parts. And I just need the time to sit down with a recording studio and a guitar and really shape everything so it comes out like I want it to. And I keep meaning to do it on the Matthew Carroll podcast, and I keep promising over on MCU Cast, but I'm gonna start dropping these, and then don't get to it.
Yeah.
You know, a couple years ago, I did the Picard album, and I like literally did a song a week for like 20 weeks. It was freaking awesome, and I was really proud of it.
Yeah.
And I just can't seem to get that. I think it really is. I think the driving, like 2 days out of the month being taken away, and then like a lot of times I need a recovery day before I can really feel creative. It's just like, and then, you know, a lot of times when I leave town, I have like a lot of like laundry baskets everywhere because I'm packing, and there's like stuff kind of, my house is sort of unkempt. And then I come back and I spend a day sort of getting everything back in order to sit down back at my desk and start working again. And then it's like, you know, back across. It's just been not an easy time for creativity, I feel like.
Yeah, I was telling my wife, I said, you know, something I really learned about myself during this COVID crap is that, you know, being home all the time, I just started leaving the house and going to like sit in like Walmart parking lots and stuff to work, because I'm like, no, dude, I need blinders.
Yeah.
Like I need an internet connection, but I need it to be slow so I can't watch TV.
Yep.
I have to think very carefully about anything I want to look up. It's almost like it's just blocking me from like, I just sit and I actually get work done. I actually think I really do. I just need blinders. I'm like a damn horse.
Yeah, no, I think that's the creative process though. Like you need to, there's this thing called Bored and Brilliant. And it's some project that I saw on some podcast. Everybody can look it up. It's called Bored and Brilliant. It's like this, they did this whole thing where like basically they were discovering the connection between boredom and creativity. And like basically you just their you know, thesis is basically like you have to be bored to work creatively. Like you can't, you know, to really get the conceptions out. Like sure, you can have fun with the like actual playing and singing or the writing and the like, there's a lot of fun to be had in the creative process, but like to spark your creativity, to get started, to like make yourself do it, you kind of have to get to a place of boredom. When I wrote my first album, I went to a cabin and just like locked myself in a cabin for, you know, 7 days. And I just like wrote. That's all I did. I was like, I'm not allowed to turn on podcast or movie or TV until I like write 3 songs every morning. Like that was my goal. And sometimes that would be, you know, I'd write them 3 hours, and sometimes it would be like 7 p.m. before I'd get my 3rd song out, but I just didn't do anything but songwriting. And like, that is super powerful. It's like, yeah, just not doing anything but the thing you really want to get done. It's just hard when the world, you know, and then doing the podcast network. It's like, I got 15 chat groups going where they're like, hey, we need somebody to do this for Pandavision. Oh, we need somebody to go into Bender's Assemble and fix this thing that's wrong. Or like, you know, there's a lot of that going on too. So I get a little bogged down every day. No, I just need to take a few days and be like, these are days. What I need to do is what I did with the Picard stuff, and just pick a day of the week and just be like, every, you know, Thursday, all I'm doing is working on the Black Widow album until I get a song recorded. It doesn't be perfect, but just get it down, you know? That's actually not a bad idea. I should really implement that like now. Maybe I will. Maybe this Tuesday or Thursday, if I can just get all my editing done in time, I'll just be a song recording day.
Yeah, and us doing this now, like, I'm thinking 2 things that are very contradictory. I'm thinking, 1, podcasts are a leech on my time, and I shouldn't be doing them, because if I didn't do them, I would have a way bigger output creatively. And then 2, this conversation has been fun. Me and Matt should do a podcast about artistic endeavors.
Yeah. You know, me and Spencer years ago, when we used to do Pursuit of the Trivial, we thought about transitioning that show into just being this conversation. Like every week, just kind of like talk about our art stuff, because it's called Pursuit of the Trivial, and it's sort of an insult to art, but like, I like it. But yeah, I love that idea. I mean, that's kind of what the Matthew Carroll podcast is supposed to be for me too, but I don't do well with podcasts by myself. I think they turn out fine, but like, it's hard to be motivated when I don't have someone else counting on me. It really is. I
don't like doing them.
I don't mind, and actually, like, especially if I write first, like that's a whole different part of the process. But like, I really want to start getting YouTube videos out, like good quality. Like, you know, we do all this work and we come up with all these theories and stuff, and there's these YouTube channels that do, killer theory videos, and we have all the raw materials to do that stuff. It's just a matter of taking the time to be like, okay, we came up with these 3 ideas. Which one's best? Which one do we want to make a theory video about? Somebody sit down and actually write the thing and then like produce it. And it's just like a whole process. It's like podcasting is like, it's like a warm bath, Dave. It's a warm bath. All right. We bookended the podcast with warm bath. I feel good about that. Jolan True.
Live long. Prosper.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.